Welcome everyone, my name is Jose.
I'm Eric.
And we're here to do an episode on selling your gold and silver to dealers, to coin shows, to private parties, or even to us. Before we get to it, want to talk about the market update and what's been going on with Summit Metals, if we could start with that.
You bet. So, we've had a lot of things happening with gold in particular as it relates to tariffs. Everybody saw it peak up around $3,500 and drop down to around $3,200 or so. Definitely a move, and people are kind of questioning, why is that happening? So let's address that in kind of maybe three different points here, or three different topics to kind of mix together to help you understand it a little better. Number one, the most important, is Moody's downgraded the U.S. debt. It's the first time in our history it's gone from AAA down to AA1. That's a drop. So imagine, for example, if you have bad debt as an individual and you go to borrow money from a bank, they're going to charge you more because they can see you as a bigger risk. So the world is seeing America a little less creditworthy than they were before.
It's basically a credit score, but for the government.
It is exactly that, right? So what that's doing is it's causing treasury yields, bonds, in particular long-term, like 30-year bonds, to go up. We know that the debt's rising. We know the dollar is debasing. It's becoming less valuable. What you can buy today with a dollar is less than what you could buy yesterday or 4 years ago or 5 years ago. These things are moving these big markets behind the scenes. One of the risks that I think a lot of people are pricing in right now, and why I still think gold makes a great deal of sense right now, is if you think about it, banks have gone out and they've bought billions and billions. In some cases, some of the big national U.S. banks own more than $200 billion of long-term bonds. Those bonds, when the yield goes up, in other words, when the risk is higher and the yield goes up, the amount people will accept for the money they loan you, that means the value of the bond, think of it like a teeter-totter. The value of the bond goes down, the yield goes up. Well, when the yield goes up, the value of the bond goes down. That means on the balance sheet of all these banks, they're now holding an asset that's worth significantly less than what it was before this downgrade. That's a very, very important signal to the market that there's trouble afoot. And so you're going to see, I believe, gold continue to become that safe haven store of value and continue that march like we've seen in the past. I don't think this bull rush is over as a result. One of the things that, for me, being kind of a longer term player in these markets than some, probably one of the most famous investors in the world, Ray Dalio of Bridgewater Associates, one of the major hedge funds. Back, for example, in '08, they were the ones that were positioned correctly for the huge financial crisis and made a ton of money. Well, guess what he just did? He just reported $319 million into gold.
Oh, yeah?
So smart money is moving to gold. You should be moving to gold, in my opinion, as well. Consistent with what's, the right amount for your particular financial situation. And again, I'll repeat over and over, we're not financial advisors. You should get your financial advice from your own, person. But from our perspective, we believe gold still represents a very, very important place to be invested. All right, now let's shift gears to just a quick company update. So two things. Our last video, we talked a lot about dollar cost averaging, and we talked about auto investing. We still believe very, very strongly that buying systematically, developing a disciplined approach, kind of a gold or silver savings account, still makes a lot of sense. This product, featured at the very top of our website with a simple click, allows you to set up that for yourself and set it and forget it. We strongly suggest you do something like that. It makes a lot of sense. And then lastly, we're really excited. You've probably seen we've brought in some products from Germania Mint, one of our favorite mints. Ball Guy Money did an interview for us over in Poland regarding their products. We just got a huge shipment in. I'd suggest go to our website, hit Germania Mint. You can see all these new products, including we're back in stock on like the kilo bars, some of these other things that are really, really amazing. So, yeah.
We're ramping up a lot of those collectibles, so check it out as well.
Yeah, perfect.
So let's get to it. Selling. Why should we think about selling precious metals? Because right now, most of the time, at least my experience has been, how do I buy gold and silver? How much should I buy it for? Which one should I buy? But what do you do with it once you actually have it and you need to actually use it?
Yeah, to me, I think of it a little bit like it's a market.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're in the gold and silver market, and that does not just mean you only buy. So there is going to become a time in your life where you need to sell, whether you're buying a car or a home or kids' education, whatever those events may be in life. You need to think about, how am I actually going to sell this product? So we'd like to dive deeper into that very conversation today.
Yeah, let's do that. And today we'll be talking about selling to local dealers, online dealers like ourselves, private sellers, so selling it peer-to-peer to your neighbor, your friends, and bullion shows, coin shows, money shows. Let's start with local coin shows, actually specifically local coin shops.
Okay.
LCSs.
Yeah.
For me, the pros, I think of it is fast money, instant money. You walk in, you walk out with cash.
That's correct.
It's same day.
Yeah. I look, we're not against local coin shops. We think they serve a very viable purpose, and it is a place where you can go in and get cash. You have to realize too, though, that they're running a business. They've got to take that. They've got to inventory it. They've got to sell it to other people. You know, maybe compared to, say, like a national dealer, their ability to liquidate that product is significantly harder, often meaning they're going to pay you less for it. So if you need it fast, it's the way to do it. If you probably want a higher price, I think there's better options out there.
Yeah, I think that really summarizes it. And we're trying to keep this concise with the pros and cons. And we'll make more in-depth video on the details.
Yeah, I might make another point too. I know a lot of our customers are very privacy focused.
Yes.
And so, you know, when you sell with us, you basically, you know, you ship to us, we sell it or whatever, we buy it from you and we send you the money. We don't require you to, for example, give us a driver's license and do a lot of other things like that. And part of the reason is because a lot of coin shops are subject to laws, much like a pawn shop. So they're thinking that the person walking in off the street that's got, say, a gold bar may have got it in a, you know, nefarious way, may have stolen it or found it, and it may not actually be theirs. So a lot of the local ordinances stipulate, for example, that when they take a product in, they've got to log it in a database, they've got to take your ID, they've got to hold it on their books for a minimum of 15 days, and only then are they able to sell it. So these are some of the reasons that they will often not pay as much as, say, a national bullion dealer. But those are important considerations for those that are really, you know, sensitive to their privacy and things like that. I think it's an important aspect to consider.
It is. And another aspect I think about, just if you do receive cash from a local coin shop, if it's somewhere like, let's just say $9,000, and you go deposit it at a bank, they may flag you to ask, like, where did you get this money from?
That's correct.
Whereas if you just sell to an online bullion dealer, like you get an ACH, physical check, everything, the money is good. It's clean in the system.
And as we know, over 10,000, they will have to file a form. And they're also, you know, people try to game it. Oh, I'll bring them 9,000 today and then 9,000 tomorrow. Well, if it looks systematic in any way, they're still responsible to report it, even if that single transaction was less than 10,000.
Correct. And another thing that I wanted to bring up as just a con, not necessarily in the specifics of getting less for your gold or silver at a local coin shop, is not just the overhead, but some communities only have one local coin shop in a very large 100-mile radius.
Right.
So they have the power to lowball you.
Yes.
Because you have no other choice to sell it to them.
Right. You're buying water in the desert or selling sand in the desert. Yeah, that's a very, very good point. The competition level is not the same.
Correct. So if you need your money now, right away, local coin shop is really the way to go.
Yep, agreed.
So the next one would be actually online bullion dealers like us, what would be the actual pros to it? From our perspective, at least, is the fact that when you want to sell something, you get a better rate, buyback rate, as well as fully insured shipping. So a lot of people don't really know that a label is provided to them. It's fully insured, so they don't have to worry about.
So it's insured from me to you.
Yes.
And then the payment comes from you direct to them.
Correct.
Often via wire.
Via wire, ACH, whatever payment form you want.
Yeah.
But it's good and it's safe. There's no risk to you because it's already insured.
Correct.
Those are the pros I could think of. Better rates.
Yeah, I think that's certainly an important part. Better rates. I think also we're dealing, a typical coin shop is doing a certain amount of business. The large bullion dealers, we're doing millions and millions of dollars of business. So our buying power, our selling power, all those things are stronger. That, allows us to give better rates. We can operate on thinner margins, and we're national. So we have to be competitive with every place you can buy and sell gold in America. And so for that reason, you're very likely to get a much better rate from us. You get more money than you would from your local dealer.
Correct. The next one is private buyers. This one is one that I'm very accustomed with in terms of just selling it to friends, family, online, anything, eBay, whatever you might be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pros to it in the sense that you typically do get a higher rate because it's friend to friend. You're just like, all right, give me a little bit more than the spot. Like, it cost me this, and you just negotiate pretty much it. But then where do you find these people?
Exactly,
do you really have all these friends and family that were willing to buy it from you?
Right. Well, and so you can go to the marketplace, right? The eBays of the world. Then you're going to pay a pretty fat commission. Again, so you think you're getting a great rate, but then by the time you actually get what you're going to get, it's significantly less than maybe you thought, right? To your point, I think it's really hard to find someone that wants to buy exactly what you're looking to sell, right? That's really hard to do. I think another part is fraud. A lot of times when you're, you may be connecting with people via some electronic means, and you're likely, or not likely, but the odds are real that you might not be dealing with who you think you're dealing with. I told you of an example on the buy side where I saw something available on Instagram or whatever, and I thought, well, this seems good. The deal was like good, but not great. So it was very cleverly done. I sent $150 and I never got a single thing back. And that same thing can happen on the sell side, right? Where you might send your product to them and then find out that how you thought you were paid, or they won't pay, or they then try to renegotiate it now that they have your product, things like that. So it's a much more complicated way to do business. And, the other problem is it's still subject to all the same laws and things that we're, responsible for. But now you're responsible for administering all that on your own. And that can put you a little bit in jeopardy as it relates to that.
And I know there was a story, I don't know if it was last year or sometime, about a person who decided to sell or buy their precious metals on Facebook Marketplace, met up at an alleyway, and then got it all stolen.
Yeah, I know. And there's been a bunch of stories. I know Salivate, one of our YouTube friends, mentioned a case in, I think it was Florida, where there's a guy at a gas station basically selling his gold bars. And of course, people are like, oh, that's a great deal. And they bought them and they were all fake, right? And the same thing, people will give you currency that's not real and stuff like that.
Or reverse the payment that they send you when you sell it private.
Yes, exactly.
It could just be, oh, yeah, I'm going to send you a ACH, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I didn't actually do this.
Yeah, but now they have your product. You don't know where they are, and they're gone. Yeah.
So there are a lot of cons with the private buyers. The pros, higher price, but that comes with risks.
With big risk, yeah.
All right. Bullion shows or coin shows. That's a very interesting area to go sell your bullion.
Yeah.
Because now it's an in-person marketplace where you're sitting with, a lot of dealers are sitting all around, as well as what would you say, casual dealers as well?
Yeah. I mean, to me, those can be viable means to sell your product. You get to walk around and pitch one guy against another. He offered me this. Will you offer me that? You know, things like that. You typically are paid in cash on the spot or given a check. And I think they can be pretty good. It typically is very, very small, you know, players, often individuals operating kind of their own little business. I think they have the same issues. They're having to take a product in and they've got to figure out how to sell it. So more often than not, you're probably not going to get what you're going to get through a national dealer. At the same time, it's instant gratification. You get it straight away. You know, you're looking straight at the person. You're handing them their product. They're handing you cash. It's pretty direct. It's very much like an LCS transaction.
And I would say it's a slightly better in that now, instead of perhaps an LCS lowballing you because there's not much competition, now there's competition within that little local market area. And the con would be if you're an introvert and you don't want to negotiate.
Yeah, I guess. I think part of it is, too, that you're typically dealing with enterprises, if you will, that are pretty lowly capitalized. And so, if you've got like something significant or meaningful to sell, they likely can't buy it anyway.
That's actually a good point. In the aspects of sometimes if you have something significant that you want to sell, online bullion dealers will be able to have the funds available to wire you a very large sum in the millions.
That's right.
Another one. Let's talk about things you should never do when actually selling your precious metals. One is, if you're going to a local coin shop, what are some things that you should never do going in to sell gold or silver? What comes to mind for me is you should have a general idea of what the current spot price is and have an idea of...
And what your product's worth.
And what your product is worth.
Yeah, the nightmare scenario is to walk in and say, I have no idea what this is.
Correct. And then saying like, well, what do you want for it?
Yeah.
It's like the pawn shop question.
Yes, exactly. You and I walked into one the other day just to see, and that's the first thing the guy said was, what do you want for it?
What do you want for it?
Right.
Run away from it. We will never ask when you come to sell with us, what do you want for it? We'll give you an offer.
Yeah, we're going to give you the real price.
Yes.
Yeah. So we talk about how you don't want to walk in and act like you're naive and don't know what something's worth or what gold's worth or what silver's worth. I think in addition to that, you don't want to make them think that you're desperate. That you don't want to, like I saw a guy, for example, when we walked in that pawn shop, the guy said, I just need this to make my rent. Well, that instantly tells the person on the other side of the table, I can offer you less. You're desperate. You need the money now. Yeah. And as a result, you're going to get a much lower price.
That's perfect in terms of negotiating tactics.
Yeah. So now circling back to the online guys, people say I can just ship it myself. I can insure it myself. I can do all these things. I can take care of it myself. What's your answer to that? My
answer to that is buyer beware with the terms and conditions and the insurances that are provided by delivery services. It's very notorious that people use the postal office, USPS, and they add insurance to their bullion when they're shipping it. But 99% of individuals do not realize that bullion is not covered under USPS insurance unless it's USPS registered mail. And registered mail is a very slow process to ship things around.
It kind of reminds me of vaulting, right? People think when they store things at their home, it's covered by their home insurance policy, which it's not. So that's another perfect example where there's a misconception about how secure you are with your metals when you do it yourself.
Read the fine print. And we will do a video more in depth on storage and how insurance policy works on that. You should all consider diversifying how you store your metals beyond your backyard.
Okay, let's do a quick, maybe rapid fire Q&A.
Yeah,
let's do it. I'll start with you. What's the best way to sell your stuff?
The best way to sell your stuff is, well, for one is go to a local coin shop if you want your money fast.
Okay.
That's the fastest way. What are the fastest products that sell when you want to liquidate it?
Well, let me back up. So, yes, you can get your money fastest via a coin shop, right?
Yes.
But you're going to get a lot less typically for it.
Correct.
So the fastest way to get cash is that way. The fastest way, I think, to get the best price is to come to someone like Summit Metals.
Correct. And the items that liquidate quickest will be the ones that American buyers want to buy, which are American Gold Eagles, American Silver Eagles,
Yeah, I
all
think
these products. But for an online bullion dealer, we'll buy anything.
Yeah,
So
we
don't
will,
worry
but
about
at the
that.
same time, I think where I think it makes sense. If you notice on Summit Metals, we're very focused on bullion and products that have high liquidity. These are the products you can take anywhere and sell quickly. If you've bought some 1953, nickel with a scratch on his head or something like that, good luck trying to get what you think that's worth, right? So sticking to the really high quality products enables you to sell these much easier, much faster, and for the value you're actually expecting to receive.
Yes, correct. And that actually goes back to the bullion versus numismatics.
Yes.
Numismatics do have more of a subjective feel to it.
Correct, yeah.
And it's very hard sometimes to price it correctly, so it's not as liquid.
Right, completely.
Other aspects is tarnished silver, toned silver.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on selling that? Like buying it back from the public?
Yeah. Well, I do think that the toning. Some people love toning, like they want to buy. They'll they'll reach out and say, "I'm looking for a toned so and so. Do you guys have that product?" kind of thing. And I think it's important. I think though the vast majority do not want that. They want a BU type product, uncirculated type product. So I think that the toning actually does lessen the value of it. But I don't think because of that you should still be somewhere around spot. For example, with silver,
Yes.
it should be somewhere around spot. It shouldn't be dramatically different just because it's toned. Because quite frankly, when they refine it, the fire doesn't care. It's going to turn it into molten metal, and they're going to pour it into something else.
Correct.
So it's pretty the same.
Yeah.
You think it matters if it's a bar or a coin?
Not necessarily. If anything, I think if you are buying generic and it's toned, it's good value of money because a person who's maybe buying generic just wants weight, and so it doesn't matter. But if you're buying like an American Silver Eagle high premium, you might want it as BU to maintain that.
So let me ask you though. So say for example, somebody is trying to sell a very large bar, maybe like a Comex bar,
1,000
something
ounces.
that weighs 75 pounds.
Yeah.
Is it easy for you to sell that or to buy that back, or is it harder?
Well, from a dealer perspective, we'll buy it. It's more about the logistical things of you as an individual. Do you know how to package it correctly to ship it to us?
Yeah.
Do you feel confident in knowing what box it'll fit in, and double boxing it? So
And
it
75 pounds.
comes? Yes.
Right.
So it may be beneficial to an individual who doesn't have multiple comics bars to buy it in smaller increments, so it's easier for you to ship to sell. Because if you're doing 1,000 ounce bar, in theory, you would want to buy multiple of those, and then when you're ready to sell it, we'll send an armored car to pick it up for you.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I think that for me, everybody says, buy bigger because you pay a lower premium. There's a point when buying bigger actually doesn't necessarily work in your favor. For example, when you take delivery of an LBMA type bar, a Comex type bar, there's actually restrictions on where that bar can be kept. And if it's kept outside of one of those facilities, well, then they have to re-assay the bar and figure out if you've done anything with it and all that stuff. It's going to drive the price down, and there's far fewer people willing to buy that bar, as an
Correct.
example.
Yeah.
Same thing with gold.
Then
right?
the value goes slightly lower because then now you have to drill into it.
Yes. So if you buy a large Comex bar, what is it, $1.4 million or something like that, a big gold bar like that, the same deal. If it's kept off premises, if it's not kept in a registered facility, they have to re-assay it. They have to make sure it is what it is, those kind of things. So there is a point when a bar becomes less liquid, if you will, because there's fewer buyers when it gets to a certain size. So when you stick to kind of where our customers are in that 1 ounce, 5, 10 kilogram, even 100 ounce bar, you're good. We can buy those all day long. We can sell them all day long. Those are great, very, very liquid products.
Correct. And Eric, this was good. We talked about selling. That's really about it for today. And with regards to details on how to actually ship it, if you do decide to do an online dealer such as ourselves, we'll have a link in the description or somewhere above to show you how that process really works.
Yeah. I think too, Jose won't, toot his own horn here, but
go
typically when you come into Summit Metals and you want to sell something, you'll be dealing directly with Jose.
Mm-hmm.
He's very fair about it. We'll just ask you a few questions. We'll sum up what it is. We'll come right back with an offer, and it's locked. So you can feel very comfortable selling your metals with precious metals, and we encourage you to do it.
Yeah.
So thank you for tuning in. Please
Yeah.
like, subscribe, please comment. We love your comments. We respond to your comments and look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Happy stacking, everyone.
Happy stacking. Thank you.